This is Touched by Love with Ore. Of course you know, don't you? Well, if you didn't know, this is Touched by Love with Ore. And I'm so glad you joined in this week. Did you miss me? How was your week? Was it fine? Well, thank you for coming on board today. It wouldn't be the same without you. I enjoyed reading your text messages, your mails, and your stories online. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, today we are having an old friend back in the house. For those of you who have been following, you remember the story of Mr. and Mrs. Ejimofo. Well, if you didn't, you will be given an opportunity to see and to be part of it. Let me have the wonderful pleasure of welcoming my dear friend.
This is Chima Ejimofo. For those, yeah. Say hi, Chima.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
She's looking beautiful, isn't it? All calculated, isn't it? But sometime back, it wasn't like that.
Big deal? Oh yeah, this woman is a big deal. She has been through the fire. Oh yes. It was that bad because she actually had a mental disorder for which she had to go for psychiatric help. And it was pretty bad. She's been bold, she's been courageous, she's made it a life journey to tell people who have gone through mental case depression or mental cases or found themselves in psychiatric hospital not to allow themselves to think that's the end of the world or feel stigmatized. Yeah, they're going to get a lot of encouragement for those of you going through that today. Thank you so much for allowing us into your world, Chima.
Thank you.
Woman of timber and caliber. Oh yes, you are.
For those of you who missed that story, please stay tuned. We'll just let you see some of that and we'll be right back.
Do you know young talents? Age 6 to 13. Then it's time to put them in the spotlight. We're giving children with unique talents the opportunity to shine on our show Touched by Love with Ore. To participate, SMS child's name, age and talent to 070-661-51910 or 070-1199-0127 or mail us at touchedbylove@yahoo.com. For more information, log on to www.touchedbylovewithore.tv. Audition starts in August. Send in your entries now, cause every child is a star. Mental illness is an affliction of the mind, and it's so severe in nature such that the person afflicted cannot distinguish between fantasy and reality. Such a person is unable to conduct his or her affairs due to psychosis and is subject to uncontrollable impulses. This is why the afflicted person may not be able to recognize their loved ones, whether it be father, mother, husband, or even children. Indeed, no one is safe around them. Often, they may become very violent. Many cases have shown insane people committing murder without knowing, hence the term not guilty by way of insanity. This term, however, logical when it comes to its effect on the home. Insanity has a devastating toll on the home, the family. It's indeed energy sapping and extremely expensive to treat. It is therefore one of the grounds accepted by law as a reason for divorce. And it is definitely understandable when the family keeps the insane person far away from them. Welcome to Touched by Love, Chima and Mike. How long have you been married for?
20 years.
You got married, like I said, and you had to wait for 6 years. I mean, that wasn't the plan. It wasn't like a family planning thing. You wanted the baby like yesterday, and the baby didn't come. So let's take it. So eventually the baby came, and the drama, the real drama, started from after or during labor?
On the Labor Day.
On the Labor Day. So tell us what happened.
I went for the usual antenatal, and after being examined, the doctor said, "Madam, I hope you brought your bag because you're not going home. I said, okay. I called on the phone and said to my husband, it seems I'm not coming home, so you come over, I'll be here. About 5:30 in the evening, they put a drip on me. I didn't know that was what being induced means. And by 6:30, contractions were very regular. I told them that I thought I was ready to have the baby, and they thought I was kidding, until I got off the bed and then my waters broke. So I was rushed into the theater, and by the time they examined me, the baby's head was already crowning. I had so gotten prepared for the delivery because I thought I would just have the baby within 30 minutes max. The very enthusiastic midwife, I didn't really know what she had in mind, now did something very strange. She used a razor blade and she gave me a cut.
With a razor blade?
With a razor blade. I still remember wondering why a razor blade. The baby came out within, I was just asked to push. The second push, she came out. Then the drama started. They gave me an injection to stop the bleeding because I was bleeding, but the blood just wouldn't clot. I was on that table from about 7:30 in the evening till...
For 7 hours.
By 10:30, I was wondering what's going on. The blood wasn't clotting. I could see them, they were panicking. And then with a little bit of understanding, I knew that somehow my veins began to collapse and they couldn't even get any more blood pressure. At that time, I realized something strange was happening. It was like where I was floating out of my body.
Whoa.
And I looked at my husband. Thank God he was in the delivery. He was in the delivery labor room. And I said to him, the only times I call him with all his names is when he's in trouble.
Can we hear all his names?
I said, Ikejuku, I'm dying.
Wow.
And they said to me, don't make negative confessions. But he knew what I was saying. I said to him, call our pastor, something is wrong. So while he went off to put a call across to our pastor, I just started turning it over in my mind. I said, I waited this long to have this child. Now that this child has come, would it be said she died in the labor room? And yes, the baby is there, she's healthy, they didn't want to tell me her sex then. I just was told you have a healthy baby. I said, but this isn't right. How can I die now? I found myself arguing with God. And he said to me, you will not die. When he said that, I literally felt myself come back into my body.
Wow.
And then I knew that no matter what, I'll be okay. But just to reassure me, I said to him, if it's really you, make this blood stop. In less than 10 minutes, the blood flow stopped. After that, I could see the relief on the faces of the doctors and the nurses, and they insisted that I must walk back to the maternity ward, that they wouldn't wheel me out. I was so weak, I had to be supported on both sides, my sister-in-law, my husband. I walked back, and I thought that was the end of it. By the following morning, my temperature was so high. I had said to them that I wanted to leave. Since I had the baby, no problems. They said, okay. The third day, they discharged us. They discharged me. I was still not lactating. My baby was still not able to feed properly. But I went home, happy to be home with the baby and all that. And then later, family members started coming to congratulate. My sister-in-law looked at my stomach and she said, this stomach, we have to do something. Or, we are preparing for naming ceremony. So she taught my husband how to tie my stomach with wrapper. And said when we were going to bed to tie it and then sleep with it like that and then wake up and try to do some sit-ups and stuff. I thought, okay, fine.
And that's the usual thing. After baby has been born, you're trying to get ready and look nice for the 8th day, which is the naming ceremony.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Later that evening, I thought I wanted to use the restroom. So I went to the toilet, and then when I got in there, I just collapsed. I passed out. And by the time I came to, there was blood everywhere. My husband was, I could hear him calling my name. I didn't know I had actually passed out.
So she passed out, and Ike, if I also recall from your version, you said Chima literally died in your arms.
Yes, when she went to the restroom, I was bleeding. I was holding her. All I saw was she slopped into my hand and died.
How did you know she was dead?
And she wasn't breathing.
Okay.
So all I did was that I started praying and I said, look, you will not die but live to declare the goodness of the Lord. Because we can't come this far after 6 years, and they said she gave birth to a child and she died. And that was how, that was when, yes, I started declaring the word of God, believing that she will live. And while I was doing that, she jacked back to life.
Wow.
In the presence of my mother-in-law. And that was so, because of gates, everywhere was blocked, that security and all that. In the morning around,
in terms of the fact that you couldn't
the gates, we couldn't come out of our streets to the hospital. Of our street.
Because at that time, the
Lagos
wasn't very safe,
so
yes.
Everybody had vigilante
exactly.
and street gates everywhere.
So once it was 5:30, we rushed to the hospital. And when we got there, I still remember the doctor, Dr. Mamadou. He made Dr. Mamadou saw her. They just wheeled her straight to the theater. And he said, no, this person is not supposed to still be alive. And what they did, that was when they said there was placenta, in her, and then they started evacuating and all that. That's how it has been affected, so many things and all that. And they started injecting her so many, just to protect her and all that. And that was how it went. And she was there after the evacuation. They now started to see how to revive her, sustain her and all that. And we had to do the naming ceremony from the hospital. Because the 8th day, they now asked her to come to the house for the naming, and then she went back to the hospital. And at this time, we found out that the 9th day, we found out that she started talking non-stop. She was just talking non-stop, and
I couldn't sleep. I was just very wide.
Just talking, blabbing different things you can't even imagine and all that. Okay. So from there, the hospital, the doctor now started finding a way to sustain her, because her reasoning was going, a plateau, as if, undulating here and there, and then they will start trying to say how to, and then it went on like that. And it got to a time that we found out that the hospital could not manage her, because my wife's father, being a pharmacist, realized that this is beyond the ordinary medical doctors.
When we come back, Chima's response to her baby and her husband having to deal with a wife that has literally gone mad. Welcome back to Touched by Love. If you're just joining us, we're listening to the story of Chima and Ike. They've just had a baby, and she's still medically unfit to take care of her child. And what's worse, she's lost her mind. So Ike, you're with a wife who is blabbing. The medical hospital cannot handle her. What happened next? It was
a traumatic experience, because you hear about people who have lost their mind. You see them on the streets and all that. I couldn't imagine, But
I'm sorry to say, but I can't picture.
Because
I mean, this is. I know it's not a joking matter, but tell me, how did you? I mean, you are with a mad wife. So can you tell me some of the things she was doing that let you know that this lady had gone cuckoo?
Beating, all that.
I don't
beating.
know all that. Tell
me.
Like
beating, cutting and all that. Whatever she had, she throw on me, irons and all that, cutting me and giving me marks and all. Cutting. But I remember, yes. But what kept me going was I remembered the word that said, when you find a wife, you find a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord.
She was throwing and cutting,
and for better, yes. And I also know that marriage is for better, for worse.
You don't think this was a normal, better?
It was very abnormal. It was very abnormal. And like I said, I couldn't. But I knew that I have a conviction that this is my wife, which is the foundation of the relationship in the first instance.
But how did you? What was the diagnosis, really, exactly? I mean, how did you know, or how did you deal with this psychiatric phase, and for how long was it?
Okay, when it started, like I said, my wife's father, a pharmacist, who incidentally has a medical background, understood this. And it was on that premise that the family has to get involved. My wife's family has to get involved. Because, within this time, you can't leave her alone. And we're spending a lot of money. And they had to get involved. And that was how we now, the father actually makes some contacts. And Professor Famuyiwa, who incidentally happened to be a psychiatrist, was contacted. And the medical clinic in Yaba.
After the loss of blood on the day of delivery, my father explained this to me because I needed to understand what was going on. The reason I was fighting everybody was because I now saw everybody medical as an enemy because of what I had gone through in the hospital. So they would want to give me medicine, they wouldn't tell me what they're doing. And I needed somebody to explain it to me so that I could appreciate what they were doing. That's why I was hitting everybody that came my way, because nobody wanted to tell me what they were doing. So thank God for my father. He understood that part of me. And when he was called in, he said, oh my God, you've all been trying to give her medicines, you've all been trying to give her injections. You haven't told her what you're giving her injections for. So he calmed me down and said to me that because of the blood loss and oxygen, because I had passed out, it was as if my brain was cut off for some time. And they told me it was called postpartum neurosis, which is a form of depression. I now understand.
Welcome back. Quite an airful. Well, so much to thank God for, isn't it? But it's wonderful that you could share your story. And so it's been magical, miraculous, just whoop, everything been flying high. You're on cloud 9. Has it been like that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
All right. So how has it been? What was it like, even after, dealing with life, and, what were the areas of stress that you still found out that, was it like you had to start all over again and things, how has it been?
Well, for me, I think it's been a process of having to process and think through certain areas, because I have this belief that it's not what happens to you, but what you do as a result of what happens to you that is most important. It's reality that bad things happen to good people. And trouble doesn't no. So the same thing with life. Life is full of ups and downs, and everybody has issues. That's the point that I think I came to understand, that everybody you see, no matter how wonderful they look, everybody has issues. And everybody has to learn to manage the issues that come their way by life, and continue to be optimistic, and continue to always have faith that tomorrow will be better. I think those are the things I have come out with. I have a new understanding that nothing comes my way that I cannot handle, not just by myself, but with my faith in God and with the support of family and friends and wonderful people that God has surrounded me with. I choose to have a positive outlook to life. I don't believe everything is bad and that everybody is bad. I believe there is good and there is bad, and I believe that the good that is for me is more than the bad that is against.
That's wonderful.
All about pressures and your ability to manage your pressures.
And you look like you're dealing with those pressures very well. Oh, come on, you are. Congratulations. So glad.
Question of this week is...
All right, on Ask Ore this week, this is the question we're looking at. Hi, Ore, I had a divorce some years back, and both of us have been with someone else since then, but can't seem to get over each other. We both want to come back together because we're not happy with our new partners. What should we do? Stay tuned. We'll be right back to answer that question. Well, my legal background tells me that for you to be divorced, you must have gone to court and told the judge that your marriage has broken down irreconcilably. And I know that there are really no happy divorces. A lot has gone under the water. Families involved, have gone through so much pain and anguish because of the two of you. And of course, we know it's just the two of you. But then you now have new partners. Question is, are you married to your new partners? If you're married to your new partners, it's not just a work in the park. And you see, when people are divorced and meet somebody else, it is not impossible that there's some nostalgia. It only means that you either were not ready to move on when you met the new partners, or you are judging the new partners by the standards of your ex. Well, there's a problem there, because you really won't get any relationship to work while you're judging the new person. If you're in a new relationship, it has to be allowed to have a new life, new dreams, new expectations. You've got to allow yourself to discover this new person. What I think we really should be concerned about are the children at this stage. While you may have your emotional challenge and conflict going on right now, question really should be, what is in the best interest of the children who you have, the baggage that you have brought along with you? It's important for us as parents to establish an environment that allows our children to thrive and to grow with the highest sense of normalcy as possible, so that they can